I want to honor another member of the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs, former Chairman and Senator John Melcher of Montana, who passed away last Thursday at the age of 93. Senator Melcher served in the Army during World War II and was part of the Normandy Invasion Force in 1944. He graduated from veterinary school at Iowa State University in 1950 and settled in Forsyth, Montana. He was elected the town's mayor 3 times and served in the state legislature before entering Congress. He served in this body from 1976 through 1988. And he served as chairman of the Indian Affairs Committee in the 96th Congress from 1979 to 1981. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Today's hearing commemorates the 30th anniversary of the enactment of one of the most successful laws in Indian history, the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act amendments of 1988. This act, passed by Congress in 1988, was the result of critical input and leadership from tribes across our country and marked a significant turning point in tribal self-governance. In 1987, tribal leaders testified before this committee that the policy of self-determination, which began with the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act of 1975, had resulted in greater utilization of services, increased access to education, stronger Indian families, and more effective tribal law enforcement. However, though the law made many positive changes, inflexible bureaucracy and federal inefficiencies restricted implementation of the 1975 Act. As a result, an alliance of tribes and tribal organizations joined forces to develop legislative proposals addressing these issues. These proposals were incorporated into the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act amendments of 1988. Which increased the tribe's ability to redesign and tailor services to the specific needs of their communities. While the amendments initially authorized the self-governance demonstration project within the Bureau of Indian Affairs, this program was eventually made permanent at the Department of the Interior. Later, at the Indian Health Service, a similar program began and was subsequently made permanent. Today we'll hear from our witnesses about this history of self-governance, its contributions to Indian country, and how this program can be improved to best help tribes chart their own course. However, before we do that, I want to highlight that just last week the committee unanimously passed S 2515, the Progress for Indian Tribes Act. This bill, which I sponsored along with a number of our members, further amends the 1975 Act, incorporating tribal recommendations for improving the process for negotiating and finalizing compacts between tribes and the Secretary of the Interior for Bureau of Indian Affairs programs. Previous iterations of this bill have been introduced since at least 2003. It is past time that we pass the bill, and I urge my colleagues to work together to get this important legislation to the President's desk. I want to thank Vice Chairman Senator Udall for joining me in co-sponsoring the bill, as well as Senators Murkowski, Barrasso, Sullivan, and Cantwell. Vice Chairman Udall would turn to you now for any opening statement.